Good evening. Welcome to the May 2024 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. Very glad to see each one of you, and to those watching, thank you for joining us. We'll begin this evening with our roll call of commissioner members present. Vice Chair Miller.
Present.
Commissioner Doolittle.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
And Commissioner Yang.
Present.
Great. Also joining us tonight are Oakdale's Community Development Liaison, staff member Hannah Dunn, and his excuse me, and our Commission's City Council Liaison. Nope, not tonight. Got it, not tonight for Mr. Zabel. We also recognize Oakdale's City Administrator, Chris Volkers, City Clerk, Sara Ludwig, and soon to be present, City Attorney, Jim Thomson in attendance. Next item, we move to our Pledge of Allegiance, so if we could all rise together and recite. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Moving towards approval of tonight's agenda. Everybody received a copy prior to the meeting. So assuming no amendments or discussion, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the agenda for the May 20th EMC meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a second.
Second.
Great. Discussion. All in favor of approving the agenda for tonight's meeting of the EMC, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you. Well, so we're going to do a little skip in the agenda tonight while we wait for one of our presenters and facilitators. We're going to move to the Environmental Management Commission review of old business and the approval of our 2024. What? Whoops, I'm skipping way ahead. Thank you, Hannah. We're going to back that train right up. And we're going to go to number 5, approval of the minutes from the March 18th, 2024 meeting. And I think I will invite commissioners to take a quick minute to review the minutes from last month, or 2 months ago, I should say. Any comments, clarifications, amendments? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from from March 18th, 2024.
So moved.
Great, is there a second?
Second.
Awesome. All in favor of approving the March 18th minutes of the EMC, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Jumping around a little bit, we're going to go to old business and approval of the 2024 Environmental Management Commission work plan. City staff Hannah Dunn sent us our final proposed work plan in this packet before you, and as a reminder of our commitments to the city, our work plan continues to support and be in alignment with Oakdale's EV priorities, General 2040 comp plan priorities encompassing renewable energy efficiency, access to solar, reducing waste and increasing recycling, promoting water conservation, and providing general cross-commission and city assistance as we have enjoyed helping with in the past. So feel free to take one last minute. And as another reminder, as Hannah shared, the EMC's 2024 draft work plan was discussed at the February 12th EMC dinner with City Council, and then the City Council subsequently reviewed the work plan at their March 12th, 2024 workshop meeting, and they did not have any additional changes for us to consider. I will open this up to other commissioners for any comments related to our work plan. Hearing none, I would like to ask for a motion to approve Oakdale's Environmental Management Commission work plan for 2024.
So moved.
Great. Second?
I second.
All right. All in favor of approving the 2024 EMC work plan for the year ahead, say aye.
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 Opposed? Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Let's continue the impact. All right. Well,
My stuff.
go ahead. What?
You can move to my stuff.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, by direction, we are moving to Hannah Dunn's stuff. There is the other section in the agenda, starting with staff liaison updates.
Yes, thank you. I'll first briefly review the editorial calendar as we do at every meeting. And once discussion on communications content is finished, if we still have time before the advisory body training, I'll provide a few community development updates. Looking ahead, the theme for May is bicycling and walking. A post went out yesterday highlighting that May is National Bike Month and linked to the Bike Minnesota website so that people can learn more about events going on and the benefits of bicycling. The theme for June is renewable energy. I brought up at the last meeting that rebates from the Inflation Reduction Act are something that could be promoted on social media. And then July's theme is going plastic free. There are still plenty of reusable bags that we produced last summer. I can share those at the farmers markets. And then last year during July, we promoted the locations in Oakdale where people can bring plastic bags and plastic film so that they can be recycled. We could again promote these locations, but I'm also curious if commissioners have any other new ideas or suggestions for going plastic free in July, or if you have other renewable energy content that you think is timely. So I can open it up to a quick discussion about any resources that the commissioners have come across that could be added to potential content.
In June, regarding renewable energy, there's another group buy program available and called Solar United Neighbors, SUN. And yeah, I can get the contact information for that. They provide group buy, and they've already selected a provider, and for the solar, iSolar is the company that has been chosen already. And I signed up with them myself and checked this out and got a quote from iSolar, and they're very thorough, and nobody even had to come out to the house. They all did this through, taking pictures of my roof from, online. And yeah, there's not a lot of work to get, check out if your house is good potential for solar energy production. And I ended up with a quote for a system that would have a 5-year payback, given the Excel Solar Rewards Program and the federal energy rebate. So that was pretty nice, 5-year payback on that. And also over the expected 30-year life of the system, there'd be over $100,000 in savings, energy savings. So we're trying to figure out if we'll be staying in that house for how long at this point. But yeah.
Continuing on that theme, I'm not sure, I'm always cognizant of the capacity of city staff, but especially communications. Do we have any testimonials from businesses that have had either rooftop, some of the newer ones that have redone their building, like the Animal Center, or
We
in
talked
terms of
about
how it's
that.
going?
Yeah, we talked about that at the dinner with council. And I don't believe we had any testimonies on file. I haven't come across any, but that's something we can explore, reaching out, getting some testimonials to share.
Yeah, I always think it's great when people, there's so many programs, but when people have the story behind what it can mean. Yeah, okay.
Are there any other suggestions? Otherwise, I can take these new suggestions, talk to communication staff, and come up with some planned content for the next few months.
Great. That'd be great.
Okay, sounds like we can move on,
We can move on.
move back in the agenda to the advisory body training, and then we'll come back for my community development updates afterwards.
Great. Thank you. Well, we are moving into advisory body training. I think leaning into some collective learning surrounding compliance and general advisory body support. So facilitated by City Administrator Chris Volkers and her team, to include Sara and Jim. He'll be here. Administrator Volkers, yeah, the floor is yours to begin.
All right. I can't stall anymore, so thank you for being patient with
stalling.
us.
Yeah, of course.
Jim will be here any second, so we'll get going. Thank you so much for having us tonight. We appreciate it. We're going to take this opportunity to go through a Robert's Rules kind of parliamentary procedure training, and then we're going to provide meeting-specific training. And in the future, we're trying to catch up with all the commissioners between the months of April, May, June, I think. We're meeting with each commission. And then everybody who gets appointed after that, there will be an annual training just for them. So you won't have to keep going through this unless you want to, of course. But we are going to do this kind of sweep of here's the information for everybody. And then when you have new members, which usually start in July, sometimes they're random, but we'll have a once-a-year training. So everybody's on the same page. So this is a result of the council kind of requesting that we more formalize the commissions as far as making sure we're all doing things the same. So the city council, we have council meetings and we have workshop meetings. Between the two meetings, there's 4 of them a month total. And we follow a very strict, parliamentary procedure and Robert's Rules, and everything's actually laid out in city code that says that we will follow Robert's Rules, et cetera. So we just want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page with the commissions, that the minutes look the same, that we're all kind of doing things the same. So that's the point of this. I'll provide some introductory information. Sara will jump into the details, the most fascinating part, and then Jim will come back and talk about the legal things that are important in regards to the laws in the state of Minnesota and the city code that have to do with your meetings to make sure that we're following those. Okay, feel free to interrupt us at any time. Glad to take a pause, just kind of yell at me or whatever you want to do, okay? So with that, we'll get started with the agenda for tonight. Like I said, I'm going to go through some basic city information just to make sure that we're all understanding kind of how the city is shaped administratively and how the hierarchy and the authority goes. We'll talk about boards and commissions 101, meeting information. Sara will cover those, legal information, and then we'll talk about communications and next step. So city information. As you see on the screen, the mission statement has been around a really long time. In fact, the City Council is embarking on a very comprehensive strategic planning effort this year. We have not done a deep dive forever. I don't know when. So this could be evolving, but this is a pretty solid mission statement that we are very proud of. And it basically says, as you can read for yourself, we want to provide top-notch services to our citizens. We recognize that we are here to serve the public. That's why we do our jobs, many of us, and that's why you're sitting up there. I'm sure all we want to do is contribute. And so with that, we just kind of try to encapsulate that in a mission statement many, many years ago, and we'll take another look at it, as I mentioned. These 6 core values, we do live by them. We quote them with every interview we have on recruitment. We talk about these 6 values with new employees, with all the employees, and we really take them seriously. Respect, responsibility, sustainability, excellence, integrity, and innovation. Those are our guiding values on how we serve the public and how we try to do our job. There are 5 elected officials for the city of Oakdale. We've got Mayor Zabel, who is used to be a council member for quite a while, and he was elected mayor in late 22. So he started his term January of 23. So he's served 23, 24 so far, and he's got 2 more years on his mayor term. Councilmember Herr was appointed for a vacancy last year in 2023. He's finishing out his term, and he is on the ballot this November for election. Councilmember Jake Ingebrigtsen has been on the council 6 or 8 years, a while. He's also a long-term incumbent, as is Susie Olson. And Susie's a liaison to the tree board. As you can see there, Jake's the liaison to planning commission. Your liaison, as you certainly know, is Mayor Zabel. And then we have Councilmember Marcom, who was elected in late 22. So he's been on the council since January of 23, and he's a liaison for Parks and Rec. Those are our 5 elected officials. You can see the city chart. We've got the residents, who are the taxpayers, who we serve at the pleasure of, and we've got the mayor and council, who are elected. There's a dotted line over to the prosecuting attorney, which is Cam. He's on staff here, and he actually works for me. And then there's a dotted line to the city attorney, which I don't see that on here. And then you've got the advisory boards and commissions, which are you guys, and the city administrator, me, and then the operations flow up through that hierarchy. So that's kind of how it works. And so with the commission that you're on, the EMC and all boards and commissions, they report directly to the mayor and council. We, as city staff, are just here to support your efforts. Okay? Staff leadership, this is the leadership team, the management team as we call it. You've got our community development director, Andy, who you do know, Hannah's direct immediate superior. Our communications department is run by Lori Polkerbeck. Finance department is run by Kyle. He was just promoted in the fall of 23. But he's been with the city for several years. Fire chief, who is also acting public works director. I know it doesn't seem like it goes together, but it's going fine. We have a new public works director starting June 17th. So Jim Romanek retired a while ago. Human resource director, Melanie Lee, police chief, Nick Newton, and recreation superintendent, Julie Williams. That's our management team. So with that, I think I turn it over to Sara to go into the fun and the details. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chris, and thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight. So yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about boards and commissions. The city of Oakdale has 5 advisory bodies. We have the tree board, the planning commission, the Parks and Recreation Commission, the Economic Development Commission, and of course the Environmental Management Commission. Each advisory body is assigned a staff liaison. We have the Planning Commission assigned Luke McClanahan, who's our city planner. The Parks and Recreation Commission has 2 staff liaisons, Recreation Superintendent Julie Williams and Parks Superintendent Jeff Kusling. Economic Development Commission is assigned Community Development Specialist Max Losi. And then we have Hannah Dunn, Community Development Specialist, who is assigned to the Environmental Management Commission. And right now we do have Chief Wold acting as our tree board staff liaison, as we will fill the city forester position that will become the tree board staff liaison. We have city advisory bodies for a couple reasons here. One is to advise the city council and also to allow for meaningful participation by residents. There are a few guiding documents for our advisory bodies. The first being the city code. So each advisory body does have their own dedicated section within our city code. We also have a city policy, CC002, City Council Advisory Boards and Commissions, that is specifically dedicated to our advisory bodies, how they operate, internal processes, things like that. And then the last item on here is new. We are rolling out a handbook, which is going to be a guide for the general policies and procedures that apply to all the city advisory bodies. And that will be disseminated via email when we have it finalized. Advisory bodies do a few things. They are able to report and comment, which is providing feedback to the city on initiatives, goals, annual plans, that type of thing. You also make recommendations to the city council, and you are able to participate in city initiatives, projects, and events. The advisory body work can be initiated by you, the board or commission, by the city council, and also by the city administrator. A work plan is a guide that helps the commission or board focus on the work during its monthly meetings and also throughout the year. I know you just finalized and approved your work plan for this year. It is something that can detail annual ongoing items or provide a roadmap for specific projects. So each year you will work with the city council to gain feedback and then finally approve your work plan at your meeting. There are a few things that advisory bodies do not do. The first being direct the work of city staff, take responsibility for financial performance of city facility or programs, as commissions and boards do not have financial authority, and then speaking on behalf of the city or the advisory body itself without permission or discussion first. Next, I'll go through a few special roles that are part of city advisory bodies. So first we have the chair. So the chairperson is elected annually at the first meeting of the year, and they do preside as the presiding officer at the meeting. They are responsible for keeping the meeting moving, assuming that everyone's reviewed the material ahead of time. The vice chair is also elected annually at the first meeting of the year, and they will preside over the meeting in the chair's absence. The staff liaison is assigned by the city to act as a support staff, and they take part in the discussions as applicable. They make sure that the recording is working correctly. They prepare the agenda, and they also take the minutes. The council liaison is a member of the council who is assigned to the advisory body. They also attend the meetings regularly as their schedules allow, and they report on any relevant city council information. And then similarly, they'll take back any information from your meeting and bring it back to the city council. And then lastly, the ex officio member is a specific designation, such as a student, and they are non-voting. Looking at the annual calendar for advisory bodies, like I mentioned earlier, at the first meeting, you will vote for your officers, either in January or February, depending on the schedule of the meetings. There will be an appreciation event with the city council, and this is where you will discuss your annual work plan. In July, as Chris mentioned, we will have a new member orientation along with those who are reappointed, and it is also when those who are reappointed, their term begins July 1st. And then in the fourth quarter annually, you will work on that work plan as a commission prior to then coming to the council for discussion. All right, and then next we'll go over meetings and what you need to know about those. So there are a few types of meetings, and specifically for advisory bodies, your meetings are known as regular meetings. They have an established cadence. Your meetings are every third Monday of the month, except for January, April, July, and December. They are at 7 p.m. here in our chambers. The staff liaison does take the minutes at the meeting. There is also clerical staff who helps with the minutes after the fact. And then, of course, the meetings are recorded. Taking a look at a few key components of minutes, these guidelines here do follow Robert's Rules of Order. So within the minutes, you'll have the meeting name, date, time, and place. You'll have, who was in attendance, the approval or any corrections of the previous minutes, any motions that were made, and those do include who made the motion and then who provided the second, a summary of what happened at the meeting, any other action that was taken, and then in general, the minutes are a record of what was done, not what was said. Taking a look at the agenda, who creates the agenda? So we do have our staff liaisons create the agenda in consultation with the chair. We do ask that commission members come prepared to the meetings, review the agenda and any related materials prior. You're always welcome to bring your questions and comments to the meeting. You could always reach out to your staff liaison with questions beforehand as well. And then the agenda does follow that order of business, Robert's Rules of Order that I just mentioned. So this slide takes a look at your agenda. So we will have your header, which is going to have the type of meeting, the date, the time, and the place. And then the body is going to have each agenda item. So you'll have your call to order, which is the chair calling the meeting to order. You'll have your call of roll, which is a verbal roll call, having all members' names called out. We do ask that the staff liaison do the roll call. There's the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the approval of the agenda. As I said, it's either presented or amended. Approval of the minutes, same goes for that as well, as presented or as amended. The open forum portion, this is new to some of our, actually I think all of our advisory bodies. So this follows City Policy MIS 014, which is the guidelines that our city council uses for their open forum portion. And we do ask that even if there may not be any members in the audience, we still ask that the chair open that up. We want to encourage participation from our residents, and that just allows for any sort of public comment. Item number 7 here, the Environmental Management Commission review, old business. So that's going to be any items that were previously discussed by the commission. And then alternatively, the Environmental Management Commission review, new business, will be anything that's formally coming to the commission for the first time. Under other, we have our staff liaison update. So that's any updates provided by our staff liaison on other matters. Commissioner updates, so that's the time for you all to be able to provide any updates on matters you feel are relevant. And then we have our council liaison update. So that's our time for our council liaison to provide you with city council information or any other city matters. And then lastly, the adjournment, and that does require a motion and a second. So we do want to ensure that everyone understands that attendance is important at these meetings. It allows the commissions and boards to perform the work to the best of their ability. We also know that chronic absences may lead to member removal. And current commission members, city council, city staff, and staff liaisons, everybody, all play a role in recruiting members. And then ideally, the advisory body rosters remain full. A quorum is a minimum number of voting members that must be present in order for the advisory body to conduct business. And if a quorum is present at the beginning of a meeting, the quorum must be maintained for the advisory body to continue to conduct business. Going over a few things to avoid, we do ask that you do not speak over or cut off any other individuals, insult, disparage, or put down people or their ideas, bully other members by displaying a pattern of belittlement or making demeaning, judging, or patronizing comments. We ask that the chair maintain order throughout the meeting. And then also, things to strive to: use Robert's Rules of Order during the meeting, treat others with courtesy, politeness, and kindness, encourage others to express their ideas and opinions, listen to what they have to say, and understand and recognize that there may be differences in those opinions. And then standards of appearance and etiquette during the meetings. Business casual dress is appropriate. Please speak clearly into the microphones for the best audio quality. Do not speak until called upon by the chair. This just helps with maintaining order during the meeting. And then remaining quiet when that on-air sign is turned on prior to the start of the meeting and after the meeting is adjourned. And with that, I'll turn it over to City Attorney Jim Thomson for the legal aspects.
Oh my God, you got a new setup. Different arrows. Good evening. Hi, my name's Jim Thomson. I'm the city attorney. I'm in private practice. The city contracts with our law firm Kennedy and Graven to provide legal services. And I've been city attorney since 2009. Time flies. So my job tonight a little bit is to just tell you about certain rules that govern you now that didn't govern you before you became a commission member. So the rules that govern you as a commission member that didn't govern you when you were just a resident. Now the first one's not actually a rule, but they just asked me to cover it briefly, which is Robert's Rules of Order. I've got a little video here that, that Sara. This is a video, it's pretty simplified, but it helps. This happens to be a video of a big meeting, you know, where not just a small group, but everything else applies.
We rely on Robert's Rules of Order to ensure that all meetings run effectively. This video will go through the basics of Robert's Rules and how they work to make meetings more efficient. To keep meetings on track, all orders of business are organized in an agenda that lists the various items that will be discussed. At the beginning of our meetings, members will vote on the adoption of this agenda. Only after the agenda is adopted can the meeting proceed. At the core of Robert's Rules is the creation of motions, which are formal proposals for an organization's membership to take a stance or take action on a certain issue. To make a motion, you must first obtain the floor. To do so, you must wait for the chairperson to call on you after the last speaker has spoken. When making a motion, ensure that it is clear, concise, and stated in the affirmative. This is not the time to elaborate on your motion or try to motivate for it. You will get the opportunity to justify your motion during the discussion period. However, before discussion can begin, another individual must second your motion. Otherwise, it is lost. Note, you don't have to be in support of a motion in order to second it. Seconding simply means that you would like to see further debate and discussion happen. If your motion has been moved and seconded, it is placed before members for consideration and debate. The mover is always allowed to speak first and is given the opportunity to justify their motion. During discussion, only one speaker may speak at a time. At any point during the discussion, an individual can move to amend or modify a motion saying, "I move to amend the motion," followed by the changes they wish to make. After all discussion and amendments have taken place, members will vote by a show of hands whether or not they support the motion. If the majority of members vote yes, then the motion passes.
Let's see where they are. Hold on a second. These arrows to move?
Yeah,
Here we go. Thanks. Okay, so the only thing that doesn't apply to you is you don't vote by a show of hands, okay? You vote by, motion, second, et cetera. And the simplest things on these motions is most of the time your motions would be to make a recommendation, particularly to the city council, staff in those situations where you make that sort of motion typically has something in the, or a staff recommendation, so you can kind of use that as the guide. Doesn't mean you have to do exactly what staff says, but you can help use it as a guide to how to make the motion. Okay, just a couple comments about the role of a chairperson. The chair presides at all the meetings and generally ensures that the group reviews and acts upon the items on the agenda, and is also expected to ensure that decisions are made in a timely manner, yet careful not to limit the discussion, and gives both the members of the public and the board opportunity to be heard. So that's specifically to the chair. Okay, now let's get to these laws. First one is open meeting law, which I'm sure you're probably all familiar with. The purpose for the open meeting law is to prohibit action from taking at a secret meeting. It ensures the public's right to be informed and allows the public an opportunity to present its views. Now, said this to the other commissions too, you would think that a law known as the open meeting law would have a definition of the word meeting in it, but it doesn't, okay? So the definition actually comes from a 1983 court decision interpreting the open meeting law. And so the court defined meeting as a gathering of a quorum or more of the city council at which they discuss, insert commission, that happened to be a city council, at which they discuss, decide, receive information as a group on matters relating to city business. Now, couple things, one main thing, note that that doesn't say, and where a decision is made. Sometimes you hear, well, we don't have to worry about the open meeting law as long as we don't make a decision. That's not accurate. If you discuss as a group, city business, that's a meeting, and it's not relevant whether you actually take any sort of action. Now, in 1983, electronic gatherings did not exist. So the Supreme Court made this definition pre-electronic gathering. So how does this apply to electronic gatherings or devices? So first one, of course, is emails. Do emails, during or outside of council meetings even matter? And there's a conflict. There's a court opinion, appellate court opinion from 2012 that says no, because emails are not communications, and we haven't. But there's an IPAD opinion. IPAD is a state agency that issues opinions on open meeting laws and Data Practices Act, and they said it does. So I'm just going to quickly, okay. So quickly, a Court of Appeals decision said that email exchanges can't be a violation of the open meeting law because they're not, quote, meetings. And the statute on remote participation, there's a state law that council had used during COVID that allows council members to hold remote meetings. And that requires, among other things, that every member of the public and the council be able to hear all discussions. So therefore, the legislature assumed that a meeting involved only oral communications. And so it doesn't apply to written communications. Most city attorneys, including me, don't advise you to follow this Court of Appeals decision, okay? It's called an unpublished opinion. It doesn't have any precedential value. And so we recommend that you treat emails as like they could be a meeting. And the opinion, the iPad opinion, had to do with the Metro Gang Task Force. What they needed to respond to put together a press release to respond to something that was going on. Whoops, let me get back up here. The members of the board all emailed the administrator, because he had sent them, how do you like this as the response? They all responded, and the administrator published I think they sent it to the chair, not to the administrator. And the court said, hey, the opinion says it had to be a meeting, right? You've got consensus, you build consensus, and even though you were doing it by email, that's a violation of the open meeting law. So our advice, don't rely on O'Keefe. With respect to the open meeting law, treat emails or tweets or text messages like phone calls. In other words, if you were to call and do a conference call among other, that's clearly would be a meeting in violation of the open meeting law. So don't engage in email conversations, serial, in other words, among 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or otherwise. However, a one-way email is not a communication, but that's not the problem. The problem is the doggone reply to all button on your Outlook bar, okay? You get an email from one just saying something, I think this is a good idea, let's, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of reply to alls going back to each other. So be careful about that. So it's not the first email that counts, it's the ones after it. And basically work through your staff liaison, and she can coordinate things, because that's, you don't have to worry about open meeting law violations then. Oh, one thing, emails between commissioners just are almost always going to be public data. I'm going to get to the Data Practices Act in a minute, but keep that in mind. When you write an email that has to do with city business, think before you hit send. Someone might want to see this, and just gauge your words accordingly. So what's the next law? The next law is the Data Practices Act. You now are governed by that law, where you weren't, your private emails and communications before you became a commission member were not governed by the Data Practices Act. Those are still not governed by the Data Practices Act, okay? But emails or data that pertains to city business is going to be government data under the Data Practices Act. Now, government data is not limited to a particular physical form or storage media. It applies to electronic data. In other words, doesn't matter whether it's an email on your or text message on your personal device or on a city device. If it's dealing with the city and your role as a commission member, it's going to be government data. So it's not the location of where the data is, it's what the subject of the data is, okay? So if a communication relates to performance of your official duties, it's government data, and it doesn't matter whether it's an email, a text, a tweet, or a voicemail. Now, data means data. It doesn't, a phone conversation, for example, is not data. It has to be something physical in the form of a tweet or even a Facebook page. So it doesn't depend on the location, and it can apply to your personal devices. So keep that in mind, that some people think that, well, if I just send this on my personal phone, it's not going to be subject to the Data Practices Act. Now keep in mind, this only comes out when somebody asks for information, okay? The city doesn't go out and, put on the website your emails, okay? It only applies when someone makes a request under the Data Practices Act. That said, you never know when that's going to happen. Okay, one thing doesn't apply to this commission probably as much as it could the Planning Commission. The identities, names, addresses, and any other identifying information about persons who register a complaint a violation law concerning real property is private data. So that probably doesn't apply to you too much. But that's one thing I at least point out to the Planning Commission, because occasionally they could come involved in that. So, but staff knows that. Most of those would come through staff. But just keep in mind, if you were happen to get that about, well, maybe you could get that about some environmental condition on property. It could happen, you know. So just keep in mind, if you do happen to get one of those, that email, the identity of the complainant is private data. It shouldn't be disclosed. That doesn't mean you can't share it with staff to have them look into it. It just means don't disclose the identity of the complainant. All right, okay, next law. So you got 2, open meeting law, data practices. By the way, I'm just touching the surfaces so you're aware of these laws. If something comes up, just, okay, oh, you remember to talk about the open meeting law. Then you can follow up with staff and we'll give you, detailed advice. I just want you to be aware of these laws because you didn't need to be aware of them before you became a commission member. All right, conflict of interest. So any member of a commission who has a financial interest or may receive a financial benefit as a result of an advisory body's action would have a conflict of interest. So, and if you do, you can't participate in matters in which you have a personal financial interest. If you have a conflict, disclose it and abstain from voting or participating. That doesn't mean you have to leave the room or anything like that. It just means refrain from voting and participating. If you have any questions about that, contact staff at a time. They'll contact me, and I'll answer it for you. My experience has been is 80% of the time when a council member or a board member feels they have a conflict, they really don't. Okay, but that's better err on the side of safety. And so, example, if your brother-in-law comes before the commission for some sort of action, as long as you don't have a financial interest in that, you don't technically have a legal conflict of interest. That said, you may feel uncomfortable about it. You may feel the appearance of, your appearances of it doesn't look good. In those cases, you're free to abstain from participating. Keep in mind, though, and I advise the council this all the time, is your job as a commissioner is to make recommendations and to vote on things when they come before you. So you don't want to be abstaining just because the topic's uncomfortable or you don't know how to vote or that sort of thing. But if you have a legitimate concern that something might appear to be, you can abstain. Now there is one other thing where you could have a conflict of interest, where it doesn't involve a financial interest. For example, if you're the chair of a nonprofit organization and they happen to come to you or for some sort of approval or recommendation, and so the question is, you don't have a financial interest in it, but you're the chair of this organization that's coming before you. So the question is, in participating, what hat are you wearing? You're wearing your commission member hat, or you're wearing the chair of the nonprofit hat? So those types of things would also be a conflict of interest where you would want to abstain. Those don't come up too often. Okay, and then finally we got the gift law, all right? Members of a commission may not receive gifts from any interested person in conjunction with your advisory duties. Who's an interested person? An interested person is someone that could potentially come before you for some sort of action. So, for the city council, the definition of interested person is going to be a lot broader than for you because some people come to the city council for a lot of reasons that don't come before you. But keep that in mind. There are a lot of exceptions to the gift law, most of which apply to elected officials. But if you think somebody's giving you a gift because you're a commission member, it most likely is a gift. Okay, it doesn't apply to family members. It doesn't apply to, trinkets worth less than $5. But if someone's wants to take you out for dinner, and they got an agenda item coming up before you, they're probably taking you out for dinner because you're on the Environmental Commission. Okay, so that's probably the best litmus test for that. So anyway, that's a brief overview. So you're aware of these things. I'm always happy to answer questions. If something comes up, in the future, just touch base with Hannah and I'm always pretty much available to answer questions. Thank you, and good luck with your job.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up, but before I move on to communication, any questions so far? Any thoughts, comments? Yeah, hi.
How big is our quorum?
So you have 5 members, right? So a quorum would be 3.
Okay, so it's based on how many members are on the,
Yep, yep. Exactly, 51%, so 3. Yeah,
Surrounding conflict of interest, is that disclosure for group members or staff liaisons that still need to be in writing, I would assume, in terms of how that looks? If there is a conflict of interest?
No.
I'll let Jim answer.
Okay.
Yeah, no, just, you should disclose it to the staff person. It doesn't need to be in writing. And if they make a determination that they'll call me, and I'll say, yes, it is, no, it isn't. And then they'll contact you. If it is, they'll say, so you don't have, it doesn't have to be in writing.
Okay. Thank you, yeah.
And then at that, if there is a vote on that item, though, you would disclose it on the, when they're on the dais.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
Saying, I have a conflict, and so I won't be voting on this, or, you don't have to explain the conflict, though.
No, just abstain from this vote or whatever.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah, hi.
I have a question about getting approval if you're going to be speaking at, say, a conference. There's a commissioners, environmental commissioners group that gets together annually and they share best practices of what's going on in the cities. In the past, we've discussed that that we're going to be going there. Do we need to get approval if we're going to be speaking there as going forward?
So you would be speaking about City of Oakdale information?
Yeah.
As a commissioner. I don't think approval is probably the right word. I think the proper way to do that is to let your staff liaison know. She'll check with me and her boss and make sure that there's no potential problem. And then just mention to your colleagues at the meeting before. I don't see any problems. Do you? Yeah. Other than that, you should let somebody know, especially if you're going to speak on behalf of the city.
Yeah.
So, but Hannah can help you through all that.
Yeah, yeah, it's just generally just sharing best practices of
Yeah.
a project we did or something, but
And we want to support that. We want you to get the word out. We want you to advertise the good work we do too. So I don't see any problems with it. Just let us know that that's going on.
yeah. Okay,
Thanks. Other questions? Okay, I'll go through the communication and then one more chance to ask questions, okay? At the end of any of us. In regards to communications, we have a lot of opportunities for communication. We want to encourage you to use it. That's what this section is about. So if you haven't subscribed to our main City of Oakdale website, please do. When you sign up for alerts or for to sign up there either via email or your cell phone, you can pick what topics. So anything you're interested in, for example, you would for sure want to do anything with AMC. And you might want to be doing, get council updates or the new Public Works building update or whatever. There's all kinds of check boxes. So we really encourage you to do that. It's right on the front page of the website. You can just search subscribe and you'll be able to do that. Please follow us on social media. The City of Oakdale has really ramped up our efforts in the last 4 years on communications. So as you can see on the next page, we've got, Facebook's, Twitter, X, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Nextdoor. We've got all kinds of social media platforms, and we do update those. We keep pretty on top of those. So share what you like that we post, for example. That would be great. Comment on it, like it or don't like it. Well, probably don't want you to not like it, but you know what I mean. So participate as much as you can in that and pay attention to what's going on in social media as far as the city goes. And then feel free to ask for or offer any help that you can that you want to give or that you think that we need to improve. If you think there are areas we need to improve, we want to hear it. That's how we keep evolving, is getting that information and involving all of you in our efforts. There are many ways to stay informed regarding the Oakdale City Council because, again, the commissions are there to support the council. Follow them on Facebook. Subscribe, like I mentioned, to the website. Council meeting minutes, we always have our meetings on YouTube. This meeting's on YouTube. All our meetings are on YouTube. Annual work plan, you're very familiar with that. You've been participating. Thank you for that. And the council loves those dinners too, so we hope that you're getting something from those. It's their chance to have that conversation with you, and they really appreciate that and the work that you do. Council liaison updates, that's Mayor Zabel, usually gives his update. Because he had a conflict tonight, he wasn't able to be here, but when you get to that part of the agenda, if there's anything you need from him, Hannah can relay the information and he'll be able to get back to you, or reach out anytime. You all have his information as well. Annual appreciation event, we talked about that, and again, reach out to your council liaison or staff liaison. We are there to help. Communicating with the public helps promote your work. So again, anywhere on social media or however you can do it, we encourage you to communicate with the public on behalf of the city. Little tips on this, ensure that the decisions of the advisory body, you as a group, is the information you're sharing. So Commissioner Miller, like when you're speaking on behalf, make sure it's not your opinion, right? It's information, as we just learned tonight. You speak as a body, you move as a body when you make a decision. You should be representing as a body. So that's what that one's about. Ensure that any comments by you do not represent, or by the member do not represent the group as a whole unless it was an action taken. So just qualify it. My opinion is, etc. So any questions on that? Social media, engage, we already talked about that as much as you can, and support the work of the city council and all the commissioners. Next steps. We need to enhance our membership on the commissions. Some of our commissions are not full. Some are full. We want to encourage all people with all kinds of backgrounds to apply, and we need your help. You're out in the public. You're residents of Oakdale. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell anybody you work with. We have an open, ongoing application process, and if they apply, anybody applies or expresses interest in a commission, we will get right back to them. As an environmental management commissioner, review Chapter 6. Sara mentioned this in great detail. That is your governing document. There are no bylaws. We've got the city council policy and we've got the city code. And the city code is really Chapter 6 for you, is what you want to pay attention to. The laws of the city, the laws of your commission. Annual mandatory training, I mentioned we're going to do that in July going forward for new commissioners. And if you need any support whatsoever, reach out. Again, we're here to help. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you so much for having us. And if you have any questions, you can reach any of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thanks again, Administrator Volkers and City Clerk Ludwig and Staff Attorney Thomson for being here tonight. We appreciate you very much. All right, next up are general community development updates.
Yes, I've got a few of them. First, home energy squad rebates for Oakdale residents are officially available. This was an idea that was brought forth at the September Environmental Management Commission meeting, and it's finally a reality. The 50% rebates through this pilot project are available for a limited number of households. They were highlighted in the mayor's Monday morning minute this morning. And I've been working with communications on subsequent social media posts and also getting a mailer out to some targeted neighborhoods in Oakdale. Second, the city recently earned designation as a Charging Smart Bronze community. This is the program that Oakdale joined last year in the springtime. The name of the program then was EV Smart, but has since been rebranded as Charging Smart. They're taking this nationwide, so they did some rebranding. Oakdale was one of 9 cities in Minnesota that were the first in the nation to be designated in this program that prepares and recognizes communities for electric vehicle readiness. earning bronze designation is due to the significant amounts of hard work done by this commission, city council, and staff. A lot of that work was done before joining the program, such as adopting that EV ordinance that incorporated requirements about EV charging infrastructure. We also completed the electric vehicle suitability analysis through the Excel FEEP program. While the cohort that Oakdale was a part of is no longer regularly meeting, we'll still receive resources. And in the future, if we ever accomplish other EV actions, we can level up to the silver designation or the gold designation. So they're bringing this to other communities, giving them a chance to go through the program, but we'll never not be able to be a part of the program. So great news. And then lastly, reporting for 2023 Green Step Cities was due back in April. And then I recently received news that Oakdale again received Step 4 and 5. So the city's able to add a couple more blocks to the award in the lobby. So those are the few big updates I have. Do any commissioners have questions or comments or questions about other things going on that you'd maybe like an update about?
Well, it's a small matter, but some cities post their Green Step City sign on the posts that say Oakdale.
Right. When you're driving into the
Yeah,
city limits,
yeah.
they've got I don't think we have any of those, do we?
Well, the previous staff liaison said that there was one, but nobody can find it. And so they also indicated if we want to spend $80, we could get a new one.
Yeah, they're not free.
Yeah, and so I was just, every time I drive past one of those signs, I think, I wish we had one of those.
Right. I'll look into it and bring it up and see what can be done. I haven't really received any direction since starting about not wanting or wanting, so it might be good to get some clarification or try to dig up one that we might have somewhere. But yes, I'll look into it.
Other questions for community development? Okay, thank you, Hannah. Moving next to, this is the part where we open it up to commissioner updates. Welcome anybody who'd like to share some. Your time starts now.
This isn't an update, I guess it's a question, but speaking of signs and whatnot, right next to our neighborhood, there's the Tree City, we've been a Tree City for 25 years or something like that. What does that mean? Where can we find information about what we did to become a Tree City?
That's a good question. I believe every year we have to apply to whatever governing body hands out that award. I don't know the certain metrics or measurements that a city has to meet to be designated as a tree city, but I believe it's an annual application, and I can look more into what that entails. Typically, I believe the city forester had been applying for that, but I know we again received the tree city designation this year.
And we have a sign. So
Right.
if your point, we got some certification, we might as well
Well,
advertise.
and there's a giant flag right there.
Yeah, we got a flag too.
I will look into it.
Anybody else? I have three things. So first, and in years past, this specific commission has plugged into the voluntary Adopt a Drain program. As a group, we voluntarily adopted 3 drains right outside council chambers, and I believe each are located in the closest adjacent to parking lots of Walton Park. In adopting a drain, we volunteered 15 minutes twice a month over the course of the summer warmer months, I believe, not in the winter because of ice. And as we all know, storm drains flow directly into lakes and rivers, and each are located in the parking lots, as I said. So we have, in alignment with our work plan and the goals of Oakdale, We've kept these drains clear of leaves and trash, and so there's no formal motion, there's no action, not bringing anything to this body, but just a general, voluntary reminder that we recommit to this process as a commission and helping promote watershed health in this specific way. So, comments on that? Great. Hannah, if there's a way we could get the past calendar of just to see what that looked like over the time, and then maybe at a future meeting, we can revisit
Yeah, absolutely.
this to formalize, so.
I've come across, I think, each month, a different commissioner was designated to do the clearing. I don't know how many times, probably just maybe once a month, twice a month. I'm not sure what the commitment level looked like previously, but I've come across the calendars from previous years, so I will dig that up, and then we can have a discussion at the next meeting. We've got one in June, and figure out who's willing to commit to what months or how we want to handle that going forward.
Great. Yeah, thanks. I think it was just one time per month, May through November, maybe?
That sounds right.
Yeah, something like
6
that.
months of good weather. Yeah. Great. My second thing is another reminder that this group, the EMC, has made a commitment to work alongside city staff to help design and execute an environmental fair in 2025. We've further committed to work with city staff to identify, I think, planning meeting dates over the next 45 days in the month of June, and then with something to formally begin in July in terms of a process, but not holding us to dates, but just elevating this as another commitment, and we look forward to helping you guys see that through. So, third item, simply say thanks for providing a pretty great bus tour the other week. The development bus tour. I just want the record to show that we were the only commission with 100% participation. Thank you, all of you, for showing up in that way. Love the trivia. Love chatting with other commissioners in this work, cross-commission. And then I just generally felt appreciated, just as a way to say thanks as a volunteer. So there were plenty of time to ask questions, and it was good. I did take the survey link that I think you sent out. So if anybody hasn't done the survey link yet, please feel free to do so. But those are my 3 items. All right. Well, this brings us to the end of the agenda for the evening. Our next meeting of the EMC will occur on Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. So with that, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn tonight's May 20th meeting of the Oakdale EMC.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great. Thanks, everyone.